Martial artist jokes with black woman to spar. What she does next silences the entire gym. The gym was a furnace of sweat and ambition, where egos clashed as hard as fists. In that split second, as Malik's taunting laugh echoed off the concrete walls, Aisha felt the air tighten like a coiled spring. She stood at the edge of the sparring mat, her heart pounding, not from fear but from the weight of every eye in the room boring into her. Malik, a lean, cocky martial artist with a reputation for flashy kicks and sharper words, had just tossed out a challenge laced with mockery. "Come on, Aisha, show us what the sister can do." The word stung, dripping with condescension, and the gym fell silent, waiting for her to crumble or snap. Aisha wasn't new to this. She'd walked into this dojo 6 months ago, the only black woman in a sea of skeptical glances. The whispers followed her, some about her braided hair, others about her place in a space dominated by men who saw her as an anomaly. She'd ignored them, training harder, her punches sharper than their jabs. But Malik's words tonight weren't just a taunt. They were a gauntlet thrown down, daring her to prove she belonged. The room held its breath, the tension a living thing, wrapping around the worn punching bags and cracked mirrors. She stepped onto the mat, her sneakers squeaking against the rubber. Malik grinned, bouncing on his toes, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of a public spectacle. "Let's make this quick," he said, loud enough for the crowd to chuckle. Aisha didn't respond. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was focus. She adjusted her stance, feet planted, fists raised, her body a quiet promise of power. The gym, a gritty sanctuary of discipline, became a stage for something bigger than a spar. It was a reckoning. The first move was Malik's. He lunged, his kicks slicing through the air, fast and arrogant. Aisha sidestepped, her movements fluid, deliberate. She'd studied him for weeks, his showy spins, his predictable rhythm. She ducked under his next strike, her counterpunch landing clean on his ribs. The crowd gasped, a collective jolt. Malik staggered, his smirk faltering, but he recovered, throwing a flurry of punches. Aisha parried, her forearms absorbing the blows, her eyes locked on his. She wasn't just fighting him. She was fighting every stereotype, every doubt that had trailed her into this gym. The spar escalated, each strike a conversation. Malik's attacks were fueled by ego, each one shouting, "Know your place." Aisha's responses were measured, her fists answering, "I belong." She caught his wrist mid-punch, twisting it just enough to throw him off balance. The room was a blur now, onlookers shouting, some cheering, others stunned. Aisha didn't hear them. She saw only Malik, his bravado cracking as her knee connected with his thigh, forcing him to stumble. He roared, charging with a wild hook. Aisha dropped low, sweeping his legs. Malik hit the mat hard, the thud echoing like a gavel. The gym went silent, the kind of silence that hums with awe. Aisha stood over him, breathing steady, her gaze unflinching. She didn't gloat. She didn't need to. Her victory wasn't just in the takedown, it was in the way she'd carried herself, unshaken, undeniable. Malik scrambled to his feet, his face a mix of shame and respect. He nodded, a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. The crowd erupted, some clapping, others murmuring. Aisha didn't bask in it. She stepped back, wiping sweat from her brow, and walked to her bag. The gym resumed its rhythm, punches landing, feet shuffling, but something had shifted. The whispers about her were gone, replaced by a quiet acknowledgement. She'd silenced more than Malik. She'd silenced doubt. Later, as she laced up her shoes, a young girl approached, her eyes wide. "How'd you do that?" she asked, voice trembling with admiration. Aisha smiled, soft but sure. "You train, you learn, you stand up. Every time." The girl nodded, clutching her gloves, a spark igniting in her eyes. Aisha saw herself in that spark, a reminder that this fight wasn't just hers. It was for every outsider who'd ever been told they didn't belong. The gym's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting long shadows. Aisha slung her bag over her shoulder and stepped into the night, the wooden sign by the door catching her eye. "Spar that shatters silence." It wasn't just a spar. It was a statement. And as the door swung shut behind her, the silence she left wasn't empty, it was heavy with respect, hard-earned and undeniable. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.